All right, welcome to Cosmic Compass Conversation, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am looking forward to today, as always. And before we begin, we're going to do some breathing. Always important, especially for me. Hopefully for you as well, but I need to breathe. So if you want to join me, you can. If it's not practical to close your eyes, don't close them. But I am going to close my eyes, bring my awareness into my body, and drop that awareness down my body. Just noticing what I notice and dropping my awareness to my feet, feeling my feet on the floor, imagining the earth rising up to meet my feet, and dropping those roots down. And just taking some breaths from this place, breathing in, expanding the belly, and exhaling. And breathing in up through the soles of the feet, expanding the belly, and exhaling. And breathing in up through the soles of the feet, expand the belly, and exhale when you're ready. And one more together, breathing in up through the soles of the feet, feeling that earth energy, that support, expanding the belly, and exhaling. Perfect. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you all. I could just stay there for a while. It was really awesome. So I think the only astrology thing I want to share today, something that I was speaking with just earlier this morning. The Venus Saturn square that we've been experiencing, I will say that there are tensions that are inherent in that I had kind of hoped would not find their way. But they have. So, okay, so what do we do with tension? What do we do with tension? We breathe, we connect, we redirect, we re-regulate, we rejuvenate. And so I think that one of the things that I'm curious what the cards have to say today, but I'm also very aware that finding our ways to regulate and re-regulate are key to all of this. And so, again, I always feel like we can remind each other, like, what is a way that when you feel tension, you re-regulate? And if you want to drop something in the chat, feel free. Re-regulation is a wonderful tool to have. So for me, I know like going and walking in the park, which is not an option every hour of the day, it turns out, but it is a really important thing to do at least once a day. And when I say the park, it is a wooded trail with a stream, and the water element is very important for me, to clear energy, to re-regulate energy. Obviously, breathing, meditation, different forms of meditation work for different people. I like movement meditation myself. But I do know some of you are sitting meditators, and I really value and appreciate that because I can't do it in that same way. So I'm really appreciating all of you for each of your ways of doing things. So if you ever want to share, like, how do you re-regulate on a day where there's tension, drop it in the chat. We can share lots of ideas. And of course, when we get to our guest today, I'm sure she'll have some things to share. So that's awesome. So perfect timing. Perfect timing. All right, cards. What we're going to do today is I'm going to pull 3 of the Light Seers Tarot from Chris Ann, and then I'm going to pull 1 from the Wisdom del Alma by Christine Gutierrez. And those are the affirmation cards. So I love that, and we're going to do that. Okay, here we go. All right, first card. for the week is this one. And again, the way I'd like to do this is just let you tune in. What do you see? What do you notice? What do you feel? How is this card supporting you today? What message does it have for you? What energy are you feeling? You know, the word judgment in the tarot, traditionally the tarot has some fascinating meanings around that card. I think that as we've evolved in the tarot and we bring in more of I would say, you know, more current thinking, evolution of thought, consciousness, it may have a different meaning than it may have originally. So something to consider, you know, um, making good judgments rather than judging another might be one way to look at that. So anyway, thought. There's lots there. Okay. Next card. Oh, we like her, the Queen of Wands. She looks very happy. But what do you see? What do you notice? How do you feel when you see the card? Clearly, I feel happy when I see the card, but maybe, you know, you might feel something different. Of course, I love the kitty. Reminds me of Sheena. All right. So, Queen of Wands. Now, I'm noticing some new things today that I haven't seen in the cards. I love that so much. All right. Our next card. Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups. Let me see if I can get it to, there we go. Nine of Cups. I think technically Nine of Bowls, but who's counting, right? Who's looking? Nine of Cups right here, ready to go. So overall, interesting read this morning. Definitely different than last week. Last week was fun. They're all very informative, but here we go. Perfect. And again, just what do you feel? What do you notice? What do you sense? And this is how the week is unfolding, at least according to these cards. I'm loving it. And it's also, I think it's helpful. It's helping us. Oh, whenever a card falls out, you have to, we're not bringing that one out. Sorry. Okay. We're done with that card. It was an old card. It was just, it needed to. So what I want to say about this week is, even if there are challenges, remember, you can deepen into your tools, deepen into your joy, deepen into your vision. And I think I feel a little bit more celebration this week. So let's see what our affirmation is, and then we'll move forward. I've gotten this one myself at different times. It has a lot of words on the front, but I allow the veils to fall off my eyes. Divine, help me to see what I need to see to grow. I am ready to transform. Actually think this card is really, really good with our guest. I love this card so much. Okay, so the back of the card says, there is hidden wisdom that can only be accessed by seeing through spiritual sight. I ask to see with the eyes of the eagle to witness the next stage of my growth. All right, I think that's a great segue to bring in our guest. So Rochelle, if you're out there, I know you are, we're ready for you. So let me bring you on into the spotlight. As I'm doing that, I want to just let you all know that I've known Rochelle for 12 years, a Jupiter cycle. So it is my delight to be able to, and from, some of you remember, Rochelle's been here before, but it is always a delight to have you with us because your growth, your transformation, your leadership, your teaching really helps with this hidden wisdom that can only be accessed by seeing through spiritual sight. So being able to see with the eyes of an eagle and to witness the next stage of growth kind of fits very
Yeah,
nicely.
it does fit.
Yeah. So Rochelle, I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit, just, say a little bit more about who you are and what you're offering, and then we'll get into the conversation because you and I have traveled multiple lifetimes in 12 years. So I'd love to just hear where you are, what you're doing, and how you would like people to know you at this point.
Thank you. Hello, everyone out there. I wish I could see your sweet little faces, but I understand why I can't.
Yes.
I met Denise in 2012, I think.
Yeah.
And she showed up as like a sister and a mentor. And we went through a lot of transformations together and apart. And I'm really grateful. Who I am, I think it's so hard to nutshell that.
I know,
I'm
right? That's why I'm letting you do it.
Um, I would say that the who am I question, as far as what I'm here to do, is to help people see the wisdom that's inside of them, to
Mhm.
help people be able to access that and then start their healing process from their own internal wisdom, which does come from the gift of intuition, whether it's your ability to see intuitively into the body, feel, know, or hear.
Yeah.
All those psychic sensors are strong and powerful and helpful. And we have access to so much information, and there's so much opportunity when we're using our gifts. So, yeah.
I love that. I think that was pretty concise, actually. I
Thank
think you
you.
did really well. So, would it be fair to say that as a teacher, you're helping people deepen into their own, whatever their gift around intuition is, and then as a medical intuitive, helping others find that within themselves? Is that
I
fair?
definitely would say that that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you say a little bit more about what it means to be a medical intuitive for you? And then second part, how each person can be that for themselves.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know that this was one of the gifts that I had, honestly. I think that everyone's born intuitive and that your gifts are kind of bringing you insight all the time. And we're just not really, we don't have mentors growing up, right? And it's educated out of us in our school system. So when I decided to dive into this work,
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to be helping the physical body heal.
Okay.
And I believe that I was going to help the physical body heal through just God, asking God to do the work. And I was trying to avoid the emotional aspect, like the
Ah,
emotional connection to the physical healing.
sure.
And then that turned into be the big body of my medical intuitive work in the world. Because so far in my 12 years doing this professionally, I haven't worked with a case where I've worked with a few cases where there haven't been emotions tied to it, but generally speaking,
Mhm.
as a medical intuitive, I'm looking at your light body. I'm looking at the frequency of your light. I'm looking at density of your light. And in the density of your light, there are emotions and beliefs stored. And then I have a conversation with the emotions and beliefs stored in the body to see why it's there, when it first happened, and the pathway out of that to unravel that, which would be what your soul and your body have decided in union to do for you to help you evolve. I hope that's
Wow, I
simple.
love that. I love that. And It's a good thing we're recording because I was like, oh my gosh, I hope we're getting all this on a recording because that was beautifully said. And I know that this has been something, and we'll get to how people can be their own, how they can do that for themselves. But let's just stay with this for a minute. You know, getting here has been a journey. Yes, you knew you were gifted probably when you were very, very young, and we can talk more about that if you want to. I do want to share one thing though. When we took our first healing arts class together in 2012, and that's how we met, I was in the class, and I think I was TAing for that class, but I was only like one class ahead, so to speak, but I had come back because I wanted to learn more. So I came back as a TA for that class. And I remember witnessing you and, watching you work with people. And I knew immediately, I'm like, she's got this. Like that's one of my gifts is just to know, like I know she's got this. This is her path. And again, how we go from day one when something is the seeds are being planted to where you are now is its own journey. But I remember that as if it were yesterday. I remember it vividly, that witnessing and saying, yes, that she's got this thing. So do you want to say any more about your journey? And then we'll talk about like how this relates to others and their journeys.
Sure. Yeah. So I just want to encourage all of you out there that if you feel like you want your senses to be stronger and you want to use your senses more in your everyday life, that can happen for you,
Yeah.
right? Like I felt like I didn't know what I was doing when I went into that first class, but yet I did know what I was doing. Like it was
Right.
that duality of like my body and my cells remember this.
Yeah.
And although I had to apply myself and practice and work on not doubting myself and trusting myself and all those things that we all go through, I think, as we're advancing our skills,
Yeah.
um, on this journey, it's taken a lot of trust, like trust in the divine, trust of my path, trust that it's all going to work out. Because 12 years ago, I didn't know anyone until I entered that class who was really doing this work. It was foreign, right? And I was always feeling like such an outsider
Mhm.
and like such a weirdo, so to speak,
Yeah.
that when I wanted to kind of like cloak myself,
Yeah.
and when I was asked, like intuitively and spiritually asked by the divine to do this work, I resisted because it was so intimidating. It wasn't my world. I didn't even know this world existed. And then once this world opened up, I like couldn't get enough. I just wanted to live in it, 24 hours a day. So my journey, I think life is like green rolling hills all the time
Yeah.
where it's everything and beautiful and then it's lows, but we learn so much through the lows. And I feel like one of my biggest classes I've been in this Jupiter cycle is really trust.
Ah,
Trust.
which is a Jupiter word, by the way. I don't know if
I
you knew
didn't know
that.
that. Yeah.
No, it's a Jupiter word. One of the things that Jupiter wants to teach us is to trust in something beyond ourselves.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is true. A Jupiter cycle of 12 years brings us full circle, but in a different way. It's not a closed circle. It's like that spiral where the depth continues. And so your journey has taken you well beyond that first class and into multiple classes, multiple connections with your own healing, multiple geographic locations in order to gather the energy of those places and then landed you back where you are now. To be clear, you do work via Zoom. So I think it's important for people to understand that. And I think most people here understand energetic healing to be able to be done no matter where you are. You and I had the luxury and privilege of working in person for many years. And that, those years were very special. And then, of course, life took us in different directions and literally in different places. And so now we get to see each other via Zoom, but it is energetic work can be done anywhere. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but I have
No,
to
go.
say that I did do most of my work in person. And
Mhm.
once I moved to Kauai, it went remote and my skills advanced so much because
Right.
I was solely remote working with people.
Right.
And so I really recommend like overcoming any beliefs you might have over doing this energetic work remotely or even receiving it remotely because
Mhm.
we're all energy,
Yeah.
right? And there isn't distance felt in energy in my
Right.
experience, whether someone's in Europe or, they're on the East Coast. It doesn't make our receptors weaker the further away someone is because
That's right.
energy is
It
energy,
may
both.
make them stronger.
Yeah,
I love that that was what happened when you moved to Kauai. I mean, because Kauai, actually, the energy there really truly is energetic healing energy.
it's amazing there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that island represents. So, I mean, for you to move there, to live there, to deepen there, and to have that experience so that you could bring this work to more people, which is ultimately the goal.
I think it's the goal for all of us light workers is
Yeah.
continue to, enlighten and inspire, right? And it's in so many of us to do that,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Um,
yeah, sorry.
okay. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so maybe this is a good time to talk, and we can talk more about your path, but let's talk about how people can, because what you're launching is really about people doing this for themselves. So can you talk about how you got to that place and how people can do that for them? Like, how does that work?
Okay. Well, I was encouraged by other people who have done my classes before, like, come on, you need to do this. And again, I'm the type of person you get the messages from the universe and you get the downloads from the divine. And I have that strong sense of knowing, but it doesn't mean I don't resist. I'm not always like,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
And so I was being nudged by some loving people in my life who'd taken some of my classes before to record some online programs for other people to access. And that was a big pull. I love teaching, actually. I love it so much because it's so fun to watch people go from not thinking they can to just being experts and using this in their life. I developed 4 or 5 programs now online, and I think I might get back to some in-person teaching here at my home, but that's in the future.
Yeah.
So there's intuitive body scanning, which is going to teach people how to scan the body with 4 different methods. They're all easy to access, easy to apply, and you can apply it on yourself, you can apply it on others, and you can use it for animals and the planet. And you're working with the law of truth, you're working with the highest plane of light. So your body and your light body are in a good state of being to practice this work. So that would be kind of a beginner's level just to know how to scan the body as you jump into the other programs that start to gently advance.
Mhm.
One of that I'm really excited about is radiant reproductive health because myself and so many women that I work with hold so much energy and beliefs within the reproductive system. And it's ways that we can feel every day in our life that actually can start to cause density in the reproductive system. And over time, that can lead to disease. And I think if we just have the simple tools and processes to connect to the reproductive system, understand the common beliefs that are held in there, have a language and a way to communicate with the reproductive system, it's going to help so much. And ultimately, the female reproductive system, from my findings, is about really walking this planet in your power.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because we've been taught to be so submissive and, second to men. And I'm not trying to say men aren't equal, right? It's not about that. It's just coming into your right to be, right? And your right to have a voice and have an opinion and say no and all that stuff. And then I did a deeper program called Unlocking Your Medical Intuitive. And all of the programs are kind of steps into this bigger program where you start to do a walkthrough and a scan of each system of the body. You get to know yourself so much more. It's a self-healing course. And those that want to do this for other people, it helps advance those skills as well.
Amazing. You have been very, 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 very busy.
Just a little. Yeah.
Just a little. Well, the radiant reproductive health is something that I just have so much. passion around. And the, with the practice that I teach and the work that you do, I think there is so much around women connecting very, very deeply with their life force, with that creative center, with their radiance. And I love where you're taking it. It's like, okay, now how can we talk to? How can we be in union with? And how can we work to clear? And some of the beliefs and some of the feelings and some of the ways we hold ourselves in our reproductive areas, they're not ours. They're
It's true.
they're layered onto us through thousands of years. And so it is deep work and very powerful work. So that course, now, should someone talk to you first? So how does that work? Like, how does someone take that course or another course?
So you can just go to RochelleStanley.com,
Okay.
and the intuitive body scanning releases at the end of the month. I have a webinar that kind of approaches the beliefs
Okay.
of why people think they can't, and we work on clearing those. So the webinar is on the 26th, no, the
Okay.
28th, I'm sorry.
28th. Okay.
And then the course opens June 30th, and it's going to have 2 group calls. So you'll get some time to have your questions answered as well. You'll
Okay.
be with like-minded people. It's supportive, it's gentle,
Okay.
it's not overwhelming. The reproductive health class starts at the end of July, and it will have 3 group calls as well. So you'll feel
Okay.
supported in the process. You
Nice.
guys can feel free to just email me questions. I don't know if I should share it here or if you want to include my email.
You
What's
can,
easier?
yeah, you can go ahead and share it in the chat, your website, your email. Um, I'll just jump in while you're doing that. I'll just say, so, again, super important for you all to know this. So Rochelle took my classes in Sensuous Wisdom, which works with women's womb space and her entire energetic, and physical body. Um, in terms of how we relate to ourselves as, beings, how we relate to our life force energy, how we relate to the reproductive areas of our bodies. And so I fully trust Rochelle to take you through the reproductive health, course. I believe that, because I've seen a lot of the work that you've done, Rochelle, that you have put so much energy and effort into the online pieces. I love the addition of the, are they like Q&A type calls or that go along with it?
Yeah, Q&A type calls.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if
Yeah.
time allows, then I can choose maybe one person to do some quick, work
Yes.
with, so that it's an example of how to get into your own body and
Mhm.
understand what it's trying to say.
Yeah, so I want everyone to know that these are the types of, um, healing classes that I think will advance, your already, even if you have skills and you're using those skills, just deepening in, this is the level at which I believe Rochelle teaches. And I've taken classes with Rochelle as a teacher, learned so much. Rochelle, you are a phenomenal teacher. It is a true gift. She is a Gemini, everyone. So, it's a part of the Gemini gift to be a good teacher, with tons of Taurus and tons of Cancer. So there is that beautiful rounded earth and water, and, you've even got some fire in there and air. So there's this, you're using your gifts. And this is the thing I love so much. And it is so inspiring to be able to witness a journey over 12 years and to be able to see. And I appreciate what you said about feeling like you had been maybe an outsider, in your world, and then to be dropped into a room with people who understood
Yeah, felt
who
like
you
coming
are.
home, honestly. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I do belong here on earth, I guess.
yeah,
I
yeah.
felt like I was trying to figure out how to be human before. How
Yeah.
does this thing work? You know?
How does this place work? Sometimes I feel like we're still trying to work that out. But, I guess I think back and I feel, I feel really blessed that early in my life, like around age 20, I dropped into a class with my first psychic mentor, and being able to at age 20 drop in and not, and just know, okay, this is normal. This is just normal. Um, and I had read a lot of books, but I hadn't actually found the people. And even in that class, it's not like I went away from that class, with a new community, but I did feel like, oh, this is normal. I can do this. I can be this. And so it re-inspired me to continue my own study and my own journey. I do think that community is really important. So, do you want to speak to how the classes um, feel in terms of that part of it?
Well, that's the thing is you're on the journey together, right? Like if someone's in this radiant reproductive health program with you, they're in it because they chose to be there. They want to know, right?
Yeah,
So they're with you and they're like-minded. And so it's a beautiful way to develop soul family. Really, I think that's what happened when we met in
yes,
2012 is we met our soul family. And
yes.
I don't think there's anything more beautiful than meeting that kind of community and having that in your life.
Yeah, agreed. And I think back to 2012 and I think back to the people. I still know most of the people, maybe not all of them really well, but we're all still connected because there is something extraordinary about taking a class, whether it's online or in person, together, learning something that really does allow um, us to deepen into our gifts and then to feel normal about it, to feel like, okay, I can do this. This is who I am.
Normal and then encouraged and
Yeah.
validated, all of that stuff, because
Yeah.
sometimes you're left wondering, like I get from so many people I work with, like, I don't know if this is really my intuition. Is this right?
Right.
And we're learning to trust ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think to learn to trust ourselves is key. Um, and that's something we get to work with ongoingly. That is a huge piece. So we have a question, which I think is an excellent question. Does the reproductive health class look or deal with menopause and the issues that arise there?
I saw that flash and I'm still working on that aspect of it. And I think it's an important component to add, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I would like to say is as you develop that, I will just share my little piece here. So you can put this into your development if you want to. Um, there's a power that arises in a woman through her cycle. And when the actual physical bleeding cycle stops, it is imperative that we connect with our cycle in a new way. And
Mhm.
speaking as someone who's been, postmenopausal for at least 8 years, and someone who has been teaching, a womb space based meditation practice, it is imperative that I find my own cycle. Because the truth is, and here's the truth, people, this is my truth anyway, is that you could have ongoing energy, but where's the rest part of the cycle? It's not the other way around. It's not like, oh, I don't have any energy. It's more, and I will say this is post perimenopause. Perimenopause is its own journey, and there is a lot that goes into that. But once all of the pieces have moved around, so to speak, there is a way to access energy all the time. So for me, it's more like, when am I resting? When am I taking that week off? It's like, where's that part of the cycle? And I am absolutely, you're seeing in the chat, Rochelle, that this is a much desired and much needed option for all women, because working with our cycles, whatever they are, is the key. And I have a lot I could say about that, but this is not my time to say it. But I really want to encourage you to deepen and create and do all the things you do for all the cycles because it is powerful. And I will also say, on top of that, knowing what I know about Rochelle's work, is that even if menopause isn't there yet, the class itself will give you a lot of information that will help you deepen your relationship with your reproductive system. And that's really when I'm teaching and when I'm, when we're going into the womb space, it's about relationship. It's about our connection. So the class, and the class is designed for us to deepen our connection and our understanding. Yes?
Yes, and relationship is fascinating because it's not only our relationship with ourselves, but it's our relationship with our mom, our relationship with our
Ah,
dad, our relationship with our kids, our relationship with our partner, or even past partners. We
mhm,
store all of that. It's our relationship to any abuse that we've had,
mhm,
relationships to guilt and shame around sex and sexuality.
right.
There's so much that gets locked into the reproductive system. Resentment is
Mhm,
one of the hardest things on the reproductive system.
yes.
It's the
Yeah.
hardest. And I was just working with someone with her second session today, and I see so much resentment in her body, but she doesn't even know she has it because she's so out of a touch with her emotional state.
Yeah.
And I look forward to her being able to access that
Yeah.
and then unlock it and release it because resentment loves to really stick.
Yes, I totally can attest to that personally.
Yeah,
So what I would say is that the class that you have is a prerequisite for anything anyway, in terms of
definitely,
yeah,
definitely. I mean, each class does have the intuitive body scanning in it because
right.
you need to learn that in
Yeah.
order to access the rest of the coursework.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Great. See, that's awesome. I love it. So, as we are gathering today, Venus and Saturn are making their connection, and there's a lot of ways to look at Venus and Saturn, but I do want to say that understanding um, how we can access that compassion and deep love for ourselves in a structured way is a very Venus and Saturn
mm,
opportunity. So that's cool. And of course, Jupiter in Gemini is always about learning. So we can't go wrong here with
yeah,
this. We cannot go
yeah.
wrong. Is there anything in particular that you would like to share from your own journey about why this is your passion and not just the reproductive health, but all of the healing work? What is it about healing and your own journey?
Yeah. Well, so I'm sure that there's a lot of you here today that experienced growing up in the culture where you weren't supposed to express your emotions.
Mhm,
So I didn't know that there were so many emotions. And I suppressed anger, which turned into resentment. And I
mhm,
was one of those people that didn't know that I had it. I
mhm.
was raised to be kind, and I've told the story probably even on
Probably,
Cosmic
but it's
Compass
worth
before.
hearing again. It's worth hearing
I'm
again.
like 5 years old, and I was going to bed, and I was saying, in my next life, I'm going to keep a note in my pocket so I remember this life. But also, I was kind of like, in this life, I'm supposed to be nice. And like kind of my mantra that I'm supposed to be nice. And I think that maybe I was a villain in a past life or something, at least one of them, I don't know. And so Kendall's my middle name, and it's spelled with it Kind and then ELL.
Ah,
So I'm like kind L, like I'm here to be kind, right? And to me, kind meant don't speak up,
mhm.
right? Just always do the right thing, kill them with kindness. And that caused a lot of suffering in my own body. It also caused me to be deeply taken advantage of. I was like, when you go to someone's house and there's a doormat, that was me. And so I ended up developing chronic back pain that started at age 19, and it was really, really bad. It would reach points of not being able to walk. I had to use a cane. I couldn't lift my youngest child for like 5 months. And the unraveling when I found this work was connecting to the trauma, the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, the emotional, all
Yeah,
the forms of abuse that my back was storing. And my back is like 98% better and has been since I've been doing this work.
yeah,
I can tune into my own body and different ailments. And I'm not saying don't ever go see doctors, because
Right.
every form of healing has its use, but it helps me tune into any part of me that's not feeling well
Right.
and figure out what emotion I'm storing there and be able to identify it. And sometimes I need help. Sometimes it's too close to my heart and I can't see it. It's a blind spot and I need to reach out for help.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I can communicate with my body and figure out what my soul and my body are aligned to teach me. And then my job is to move into the action steps required so
Yeah.
that I can move into my growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Um, yeah, there's so much there. There's so much richness. I want to go many different places, but I feel compelled to let's go back to resentment for a minute. Let's talk about what it is about resentment that is a blockage in many ways for healing, if you don't mind, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll do my best to explain that. So
Okay.
I believe that resentment is beautiful because it is calling you to action. And once you understand the action, you can clear the resentment.
Mhm.
I think resentment starts because we love somebody and we feel hurt by them and we clean the slate and we forgive them, but then we start doing that too often and we hold back our truth in some way. We keep allowing mistreatment in some way. And
Mhm.
then that builds to a grudge, and then it builds to resentment, and then it builds to hatred.
Mhm.
So I feel like resentment, what I see is it's kind of like the silent killer.
Mhm.
You don't know it's there, you don't know it's attacking your tissue and your organs, but you're also kind of being silent, right? You're not voicing what you need or expressing in some way.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound really, really bold to say,
Mhm.
right? But if you're resenting, it's because you're allowing it. Somehow you're allowing the trespassing of someone else. And it's your job to figure out what you need in order to shift this energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So resentment is like asking you to speak your truth, standing up for yourself. There's all kinds of reasons that it's there, and it takes bravery. It
Yeah.
takes courage, right? Boldness, the not being afraid to lose somebody, right? It's like you're so important. You're such a priority that it is going to take you going, you know what? This is so important to me that I'm going to choose me. And if I lose this person because of it, that's the way it's going to be. I'll be okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very I don't know that it's so bold as it is just a big Jupiter and Gemini truth statement, you know? If we look at different kinds of work, we know that like if in any sort of relationship counseling, resentment is the number one thing that can build up that challenges a relationship and creates more obstacles in relationship. So I want to take this in an interesting direction. Let's talk about resentment with our own body
Oh gosh. Yeah,
because that's a relationship, right? I mean, the whole
it
point of
is.
these courses is to be in relationship with your own body.
Right.
So, do you want to say anything more about like resentment with our own relationship with ourselves?
Well, truthfully, the obvious is like, oh, I resent this person. It's so easy to find
Mhm.
that, right? Or I resent this job, or
Yeah,
resent my house or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But the deepest points of resistance are always going to be about how we resent ourselves or how we resent God or the divine,
yeah,
right? And so resenting your body, it's there for a positive reason. I always believe anything negative actually leads to a positive. It's because we're so conditioned to keep pushing harder and to be better and to do better and to look better that nothing's ever enough. Instead of just going, my body's breathing air today. And what beautiful air it's breathing, right?
yeah,
And my body's functioning and going to the bathroom, and my feet, wow, they're helping me walk around, and my reproductive system, it's magical. Like whether you're, in menopause or not, it's still your creation point, right? It's still where you hold the juicy manifestations. So it's finding the points of appreciation instead of focusing on the things you don't like.
mm,
And I just wanted to add that a lot of people talk about self-love, and I didn't understand what self-love was for a really long time. And to me, I've come to the conclusion that self-love is about respecting yourself and honoring yourself
Yeah.
and loving yourself. And then your bones, when I see someone really, really loves themselves, it shows up in the bones.
Oh, that's cool. I love,
Hmm.
like when
Yeah.
we say that phrase, I feel it all the way to my bones.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really great. Um, again, the point of having Rochelle here is just to keep everyone being reminded that you've got this, everybody can access this. This is really key. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that, Rochelle, your energy, your ability to do this is really profound. Like you do have a very special gift. What I really deeply appreciate is your desire to help other people feel empowered. Um, Not everybody's gifts are the same. So, yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about how that has played out as a teacher, as a practitioner?
It's true. And I know people get so frustrated because they're like, I can't see. And everyone really wants to be clairvoyant, but they
Yeah,
forget how incredible the other psychic senses are. And
yeah,
it's really important to lean into your strongest psychic senses because they're the teller of the information you're going to be receiving.
yeah,
So when people come to me, first of all, I do help you open up your gift of sight. Most of the times that's possible. We're looking at thousands of years history that
yeah,
often block the third eye and also stuff that's in this life. But we're accessing intuitive information through our gift of knowing,
yeah,
which then can be, we can feel that in our body, we just know.
yeah,
Sometimes that gift of knowing will turn into hearing or even seeing,
yeah.
right? And I think all of the psychic senses are kind of entwined with one another like this. When
Mhm.
you really understand how it is you receive intuitive information,
Yeah,
then it's like it's a game changer. And that's what I want to help people understand. And it's actually in my blueprint to empower people. And I know
yeah,
some people are like, well, you can't empower anyone else. I'm like, well, it's part of my design. It shows up in my chart. And that's what I'm here to do is show people how, right? And
yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I do think I'm pretty, I can look at myself now and go, okay, my skills are pretty advanced. But the beauty of that is that I can find ways to help other people, right? The
Yes,
more advanced I get, it helps me help more people tune
yes,
in and turn
yes.
on their gifts.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that so much. And it's true. You mentioned this, and this is really true. In our charts, there's very clear markers for the main gifts that we carry. In terms of intuition, again, there are places to look in the astrology for how that intuition might want to play out. Um, it doesn't limit though. And so I think it's really important. Like if I'm looking at someone's chart, so like if I think about my own chart, I have Neptune in Scorpio, which in and of itself has its own psychic signature, right? All by itself. And then in the second house, there's lots of ways to read that. But a lot of it is how do I feel in my body? Because the second house is really very much tuning into the physical aspects of our resources. And there are lots of ways, and that's just one small way to look at how we find our intuitive signature, so to speak. And it's true, we each have different gifts, and there's a reason for that, so that we can share them in community and allow each of us to learn from the other. And that's, I mean, I think when I think back, I have beautiful memories of so much of you and I getting to spend time together in each other's classes, doing sessions together. Um, there's there's a gift in that, and the development of community and being able to know that others are on that path also is very supportive. And that's part of what you came here to do, is all of those things, to teach, to practice, and to help develop communities, so people are feeling that support. Empowerment Wow, empowerment has many levels to it as well. So we are very blessed to have you as a teacher, and I'm excited you figured out how to make online courses. There's that in and of itself is another, I mean, that's a lot of, for some people, maybe that's their gift, but it's not my gift. And you did it though. I'm really impressed, like being able to, and I will someday, it is coming, but it is, to have been able to create that, it is part of your passion and your focus. I mean, you have spent so much time focused on making sure you could bring information to many people. And I just want to thank you for that, because I think that is another one of your gifts. And again, Gemini, right? We're here in the Jupiter and Gemini time. And as a Gemini, Jupiter wants your teaching and your ability to teach and what you have to teach to be seen. This is the time. So for those of for any of us who might sometimes feel discouraged that why do things take so long? Well, 12 years in a lifetime may seem like a while, but it isn't really. And when we consider the much, much bigger picture of how much there is to learn. So
Right. And
yeah.
isn't that the journey anyways? We're always
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always and always. All right. So are there any other stories, anything else you want to share before we get to the top of the hour?
No, I'm just glad to see. I'm always happy to see your face.
Ah,
It always makes my heart so happy to see you. And
well, it makes me happy too. Like people who don't know us don't realize like we were at each other's houses once or twice a week for years, years and years and years. So it is an adjustment, as we've talked about, when people move or we live in different places. I'm actually super grateful for Zoom. Back in the early days, it was Skype, but we all switched to Zoom because for whatever reason this particular platform worked better for whatever we were doing. And now I know there's plenty of them, but I just stay with this one because I don't want to deal with the technology stuff. Um, but again, being able to reach so many people around the world, and even just on this call right now, we've got people all over the place. I mean, everywhere. And that's very exciting. We've got Europe and Mexico and Canada and the United States and probably other places, that being able to reach each other and create this beautiful community where we're all seeking, obviously, our own health and wellness is key. The aspect that you knew early on that you wanted to help with physical well-being. Did you know that from being a young child? You said 5, but
well, when I was really little, I thought I could heal with my hands. And then again, I didn't have anyone in my life talking
yeah,
about this stuff. I was like, oh, I can heal from my hands and I can talk to animals and I can talk to this tree and,
of
you know,
course. Yeah.
those things that I just knew. And I would, I would talk to God, right? I'd be walking down my road at like 8 years old and my crown would be really active and I'd be sending messages up to the divine and asking for things that I want. And I'd kind of be also a little bit bossy, like, hey, I don't want this thing, which sometimes I still do, but luckily that energy is so patient and loving with us. You asked if I had anything else to share, and I want to say that sometimes people struggle with reading their own children, people that are really
Oh,
close to
yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
reading their own animals. And I am one of those people where my daughter came home from work and she's like, Mom, I have this really severe pain in my chest. And all of a sudden I was like, it's deathcom mode. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take her to the emergency room
Right.
before I even sat and like read her body. And I like, had to
Yeah.
calm myself down and read her body. And then I got the message that it was her bronchial tube and her
Mhm.
adrenals and blah, blah, blah. And we did some healing work. So if you're wanting to do this to read those that you love the most, know that it's possible and it's not life or death when you're reading them. You'll get the messages, the less pressure you put onto yourself. Yeah.
I think that's a really good that you address that, because that is part of why people want to do some of the work, is that they want to be helpful in their families and with their beloveds. I find, so I'll just share this briefly, that last night late at night, David noticed that there was a bruise on the back of my knee, which is weird, like on the very back part. And I was like, okay, first, so I'm gonna out myself, tend to panic right away. I'm like, what? I don't remember. How could I get a bruise there? Oh my God. And so I go to the worst case scenario that I think of, right? That's my mode. I go to the worst case scenario. And I have to go there for a little while. And he's really good. He's very patient. He's just like, he's like, why don't we just, we just need to assess this before do you want me to take you to the emergency room? I'm like, no, not really, so I just need to, I need that time, like you were saying, like just to kind of reorient, re-regulate. And then I asked, where could this have come from? And actually, he's the one I'm asking psychically, and he's the one that said out loud, because we're linked, could this have come from sitting on this really, really intense metal chair that I had been sitting on for 2 hours or whatever it was? And I just let it kind of come in, and I just was like, maybe, like letting the things open up a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Now, it is very possible that that's where it came from. It still leads to the question as to why did it bruise so badly? Like, what in the world was happening? And that led me on another journey of, and I'll just share this because I think this is okay to share, that while I was sitting there, I was really tense. I wasn't relaxed in this particular situation. And I think my leg was gripping onto the metal chair. And so then that leads to a question of, well, what's going on, like with that? Like, what is that gripping? And so there's all these pieces that began to open up. And I really appreciate being able to go deeper. I will, if it doesn't go away, obviously I'm going to have it checked out. To your point, you maybe don't need to go to the emergency room right away, but maybe you do. It's like you have to be able to make that assessment. But I love what you did with your daughter. Like, okay. I really appreciate that vulnerability and sharing that, because it is our first instincts can be really like, how do I take care of this?
Yeah.
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 So, yeah. Anyway,
Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And
well, thank you
yeah,
for being here, and thanks for sharing so much, and thanks to everyone holding space with us. I know we're at the top of the hour, and I just really appreciate so many people that gather here are interested in healing work, are doing some healing work. I just want to say that working with Rochelle has deepened my own access to my own gifts. And I think that when we share our gifts with each other, we really do, we make more room within ourselves to be more of who we came here to be, right? So thank you for being you, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for creating, and thank you for teaching. And um, I will in the chat, I will actually make sure in the YouTube that your information is right below. And so people can access you there, and we'll just have you on again to see how all of this unfolds.
wonderful. Well, thank you again. It was good to see you, and goodbye to everybody out there, and hope you have a great
Yay.
day.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Now I'm going to end the recording now. So hold on. Let me figure out how to do that.